Hello and thank you for watching. This is STSC back again with LEGO Transformers Akimboat. When I began building this guy, he actually started out as a completely different project. But what was supposed to be the fuselage of a helicopter started to look a whole lot more like a boat, and I decided to course correct. Coincidentally, I had already come up with the name Akimboat before even starting this build. The initial idea was to use the name for a pontoon. If you're not familiar, the word akimbo is sometimes used to refer to dual wielding, so the name would tie into the twin hulls of a pontoon alt mode. But as this build started to turn into a boat duocon, I realized the name was perfect for him instead. Let's start off with the first of the two boats I built. This is the simpler of the two and has a much cleaner hull. There's very little in the way of exposed hinges, just one on either end. It has a pair of smokestacks on the front of the deck, and a tall superstructure located on the very back of the ship. I experimented with adding more window detailing to the structure, but in the end I decided that keeping it simple with just the bridge represented was the way to go. This ship is actually elevated by one plate of height, and rests on a trio of tiles rather than on the bottom of the hull. Really, these are colors you shouldn't be seeing here, but from most normal viewing angles they hide away under the hull, so it doesn't really bug me. Moving on to the second ship, this one is a bit more complex and has far more exposed hinges. The side of the hull is broken up near the middle, and while I don't really like having exposed studs, at this scale they were necessary for the transformation. This ship has a shorter superstructure and a singular larger smokestack located directly behind it. Easily my favorite detail is that there's a tiny rudder in the back, made using a minifig accessory handle. I would have liked to bring a little bit more color into the hulls of these ships. Specifically, I considered splitting them into black and dark red layers. However, for several reasons, it just wasn't possible. On the first ship, the rounded hinges on either end would cross between the two sections and break up the color blocking, but more importantly, the second ship would be completely structurally compromised if I tried to do the color split, so I had to settle for a pure black look. Anyways, that's all there is to say about Akimboat in alt mode, so now it's time to transform. In robot mode, Akimboat has a very striking silhouette. He's a tall, thin bot with massive flared shoulder pads. He also has some asymmetry going on. Since his legs are formed from the front and back of one of the boats, they have slightly different details running down their shins, but of course the major point of asymmetry are the arms. Further playing into his name, both of Akimboat's hands are guns. Imagine his right arm is a heavy blaster that shoots physical material, while his left arm is a precision energy weapon. As these both take up the same 1 brick wide space in boat mode, it was a lot of fun coming up with their transformation. They have to fold up and kinda fit together like a puzzle piece in order to take up as little space as possible. The one thing I'm not entirely happy with in robot mode is the head. I'm not a huge fan of doing this very basic mono-eye design, but there's simply not enough room in boat mode to do anything more complex. And while I do find the head design uninspired, I honestly have started to feel it's fitting for the character. I imagine Akimboat is a kind of gigantic sentinel, patrolling the oceans and watching for Decepticon threats. For a character like that, I do think the very robotic and impersonal mono-eye is pretty fitting. Sometimes when building, you stumble into something awesome by accident. While planning things out can be super useful, it's always a wonderful feeling to just naturally find a design mid-build. It makes Akimboat feel just that little bit extra special. But even removed from that context, I think Akimboat is a fun little build with a lot of charm. It's also nice to finally do another boat transformer. The last time I made a boat was 112 Transformers ago, so the aquatic side of my Transformers universe definitely needs some more love. Anyways, that's all I have for now, so I'll see you next time.